of you have ever been in a high leverage situation where there were stakes at play, where you're in a tough game, like a championship game, or you're in the finals? Tate, you ever been in a situation like that going to Charlestown?
Actually, yeah.
You have been? Okay.
I was in 8th grade. I ran at state and track.
Okay, you ran the state and track. Somebody else. What's like a really high-level competition you've been in before? Yeah.
When I was 7 years old, I used to do Irish dancing.
Okay.
I competed in a national competition.
National dancing competition, okay. I can do a little Irish dancing. I'm just kidding. Yes, Hayden. I'm going to pray and then we're going to go home, okay? Fortnite World Cup. Can anybody top that? Can anybody top Fortnite World Cup? Were you like the water boy there? Oh, okay. Okay, got you. Yes, we got a few more. Yes, Ivanka. Sorry. Ivanka. Shay.
My little 5th, 6th grade team went up against her 7th, 8th grade team.
Oh, you went up against your sister's team?
Yeah.
That's got to be a homeschool thing, right? Let's go.
We weren't homeschooled then.
Oh, you weren't?
No.
But how'd you go up against the older team then?
There's nobody else left.
Oh, there's no one else left, man. That's the best. Yes, Levi.
High stakes game of Uno.
Uno. Anybody here like Uno? Anybody?
Yeah.
Okay. My oldest daughter, Ireland, swears by Uno that she's like the best ever. I want to tell you guys real quick about a story, maybe the highest level of competition I've ever been in my life. I was 18, senior year. I may have told you this story before. If I did, I'm going to tell you it again. Championship game of our league tournament, all right? It was us against Northland, and we were both, I think, 10-2 during the regular season. So we tied regular season record. So we were like regular season co-champions. But of course, the winner was going to really, for bragging rights, came down to whoever won the league tournament. So we're playing against Northland, and it's a really close game. And we have the ball, first half, 30 seconds left. So what does the coach usually do when you got the ball for one last possession? What does the coach do? He called a timeout, right? He called a timeout, set up a play, okay? Now, my coach was not a very good coach, or maybe I just wasn't a very good player and I couldn't take instruction well, but I don't think my coach was, I'm not wrong, yeah, on either one. But my coach, he had this play drawn up, and, you know, I'm probably thinking, I don't even know if it's going to work, dude. Like, they know what we're doing each time we're down the court. But I was the point guard, and so I had to run this play. It was my responsibility to run the play, okay? So we get in the huddle, play set up, go back out there, they throw in the ball, I'm dribbling up top, about 10 seconds left, and then the play's supposed to start, okay? The last play so we can get a bucket for the half. I think we were down by like 5 points. So I'm waiting for the play to happen, and one of the guys on my team, his name was Brian, he didn't run the play. He was just standing on the wing. He was supposed to cut in and set a pick for one of our shooters to come around. He didn't come in. He didn't cut in to set that pick, so he did not run the play. Basically, what happened after that, everything broke down. Passed it off to one of our wings, who then tried to take the ball to the hoop. He got the ball stripped from him. Guy goes up the court, layup, halftime's here, and they're up by 2 more points. Not the end of the world, right? It's just one bucket. But we took the timeout, coach set that up, and I was the point guard. So how do you think that made me feel if I was the one that was kind of supposed to be leading it? How do you think that would have made you feel, or how do you think I felt?
Awesome, but scared.
They scored. They got not awesome. The exact opposite of what Anna said, okay? Loser, yes, we're all losers, exactly. So not only was I upset that we didn't accomplish it as a team, I was really mad at my teammate Brian. And I took it out on him. We're headed to the locker room, okay? We're headed to the locker room off the court, and I got my hands up like this or something, and I start kind of going off on Brian. And the other teammates are around and stuff. And I even used some words that I shouldn't have in those moments. I was angry. I was like, dude, what are you doing? And like I said, I said some things to him, and he was upset at me. And anyways, we go to the locker room. What ends up happening is something I'll definitely hold on to forever. My coach comes in the locker room, a couple minutes later, so I was like, we're all like, where's Coach at? He comes in. Somebody in the crowd, or probably multiple people, overheard what I said to one of my teammates, and my coach just ripped me in front of the whole team. And he said, "You're done. You're out for the rest of the game. You're sitting on the bench." And this was the championship game. It was a close game, and it was my senior year, and I was devastated. I was absolutely devastated. I pleaded with Coach. I apologized. Didn't matter. I had to suffer the consequences, and we lost the game by 10 points. Why does that story matter? Why does the story matter? It matters because my anger got the best of me. You guys ever had your anger get the best of you before? Not asking you to share the story, but if you had your anger get the best of you, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe in that moment that you had anger get the best of you, you chose to react out of your own selfish ambition. Maybe you chose to react without thinking, without considering how it was going to affect somebody else. Have you guys been there before? You said something, you did something, you said something about somebody, and you didn't even think about it before you did it. And in a moment, we can choose not to exercise patience, not to be understanding, and instead to be negative, to be angry. The reality of anger is this, guys. Anger will conquer you. It will conquer you. It will conquer your life. But patience will protect your future. If you take notes or you jot down things on your phone to take with you and look back on, that's a really good one to write down. Anger will conquer you, and patience will protect your future. I've dealt with that a lot of my life. It wasn't just a basketball game that I got angry in. I've dealt with anger a lot of my life. Sometimes with my words, sometimes it's just my inner frustration, avoiding people, but most often with my words. Have you guys taken the Enneagram test or like a personality test before? Raise your hand if you've taken one of those before. All right. So, anybody in here a 1? Is anybody a 1 that you know of? A reformer. You're kind of black and white. There's no gray in the middle. What about any 2s? Are there any 2s in here? If you've taken the test before. Maybe we should take the test. You're right, we should. Myers-Briggs is similar to it. Well, as you go through this personality test, you see the different numbers that are correlated with your personality type. Okay? So I'm going to play a little game here. I want to see if you guys can guess what my Enneagram is. All right? So if you think you have a guess what mine is, throw your hand up in the air like you just don't care. Hayden. And Alex. Although I appreciate that. Wait, did you say that? Because never mind, I'm not going to ask. Yes, Alex. 7. And.
You go 3.
Yes. And. I'm an 8. Yes. I'm an 8, wing 7. So I have tendencies of the enthusiast, but I am a challenger, okay? So that's kind of who I am. Here's some of the words that describe a challenger, and I'll kind of explain in more detail why we're even talking about Enneagram personality tests. An 8 is independent, self-sufficient. They don't rely on other people much. They can be fierce, confident, determined, energetic, busy. They can be very passionate and want to exercise power. They can be stubborn and headstrong. Serious about control over an environment. Do any of those things that I just mentioned to you make you think about the way that I reacted on the basketball court? Passionate, headstrong, very serious about having control. Anybody else in here maybe think they might be an 8 if they haven't taken that before? My friend Rosari, Ella, yeah, my man. Okay? So those are the things that make up who I am, okay? Some good can be used for good, some that can be negative if not handled the right way. But I show you guys this because you got to know who you are if you're going to know the fruits of the Spirit. We've been going through this series, Fruits of the Spirit, at the movies. Love, joy, peace, today patience. And none of those things can exist in your life if you don't understand that Jesus is the foundation of all that. He's the foundation. Patience can't exist without having the love of Christ in your life. And I'm not just talking about Jesus loving you and doing what he did for you. I'm talking about you taking the love that Jesus gave you and proclaiming that to the world. I'm talking about the joy that Jesus had before him when he endured the cross, the same joy that we're supposed to have. You can't have patience unless you have joy. You can't have patience unless you have peace in your life. And so I go back to that first statement. Anger will conquer you, but patience will protect your future. Have you ever struggled with waiting before? Anybody here struggle with being patient? I struggle with impatience so much. So much. There's some things I can wait on. I can wait on a surprise, like a present I'm going to get for Christmas or my birthday. I actually like to be surprised by things. Hint, hint, if you want to get me any presents. My birthday's coming up. But when it comes to actual just patience in life and waiting for things to come to fruition, I really struggle with patience. And there's some other people that struggled with patience and struggled with anger, ironically, in the Bible too. You guys probably know some of these stories. Cain, the brother of Abel, what did Cain do when he struggled with anger? How did Cain take his anger out? He killed his own brother. The first kids of all time. He literally killed his own brother because he was jealous. He struggled with anger. And what's crazy about Cain is that Cain actually had probably pretty awesome access to God. Like God could see that God was pleased with Abel's sacrifice, but he wasn't pleased with Cain's sacrifice. How did Cain know that? There must have been a relationship there that Cain had with God. Yet what happened? Cain was bested by his own anger. He took out his anger, he took out his frustration, his rage. He didn't have patience, he didn't have understanding for his brother or with God. What about Moses? Moses is a pretty cool story, right? Leads the people out of Egypt toward the promised land. But Moses struggled with anger. What did Moses do before he came out of Egypt? He killed an Egyptian. Now, this Egyptian was taken, he was beating an Israelite who, according to the Egyptian, wasn't working hard enough. He was treating him unfairly. But Moses took his life. Moses didn't seek God out for how God would help him with that. He just took his life. And then he fled for his own life. Moses, even when he was with the Israelites in the desert, he became frustrated time and time and time again, which I imagine I would have been too if I was leading millions of people in the desert and we didn't know when we were going to get to the promised land. But Moses took out his frustration. God actually at one point said, Moses, I'm going to give these people water from this rock. And he said, Moses, just speak to this rock in me, the God of miracles, the God who turned your staff into a serpent, the God who had all those plagues in Egypt. I will bring water from that. Moses was angry at the complaints and the frustrations of the people. So what did he do to the rock? He struck it. He struck the rock. So he disobeyed God. Why? He did it because he was angry at God's people. He reacted out of anger. Anger was conquering him in that situation. What about King Saul? I think King Saul had one of the best kind of pre-stories of the Bible, so to speak. He was set up to be the king, so obviously he was godly, young in his life, and God used him to do some things in his kingdom. But then he started to disobey God. He started to take more than he was supposed to. His heart turned away from God. It turned to power, turned to rage. And King Saul became an evil king. He became jealous of his own failures. He became jealous and angry about his own failures. He tried to take David's life after David killed Goliath over and over and over again. What happened to Saul? He eventually died in battle. Saul was bested by anger. And it's not a biblical example, of course, but here's another one of someone who's bested by anger. Lightning McQueen. Lightning McQueen. Anybody here seen Cars before? Don't be bashful. It's okay. You can say it if you've seen it or you've seen it a lot, okay? Lightning McQueen had some anger in his life, okay? So I'm going to show you guys a clip to kind of show you where this all started. So check this out. Okay. All right. My favorite parts of that scene are when his pit crew says, "You need tires, you idiot, and you fool," and then they quit on him. But McQueen is one of the fastest cars out there, right? And yet he gets hasty. He doesn't take the time he needs. He doesn't have any patience for his crew. He's only concerned about himself, right? And so he disregards his entire team around him. And we'll see later on in the movie, you guys know the movie, his anger starts to get the best of him. He ends up tying this race, and so then they're going to end up going to a tiebreaker for the Piston Cup a week later. But in that scene, it's interesting to me that McQueen so quickly reacts, even though he's used to taking time, taking patience to get his tires checked out, to get them switched out, right? Like he says, "Get your tires fixed, you idiot." But because he's so focused on winning, he ends up making a decision that completely kind of wrecks the trajectory of what's going to happen for him the rest of the movie. His posture, his attitude, he didn't have patience. He didn't have understanding. And so I want to ask you guys a very honest, vulnerable question that you only need to answer yourself right now, because what really matters is when you walk out of here, what do you take with you? What have you learned? And that's the question. This is the question. Do you struggle with anger? Do you struggle with anger? Is anger something that you struggle with and you take out on other people with your words, with your actions? Is anger something that it's bottled up within you and you let it build up until you just let it all out, like you blow a tire, like McQueen did? Do you struggle with anger? I love this quote about anger by R.C. Sproul, somebody who really sought after God all of his life. He says this: violence, tantrums, bitterness, resentment, hostility, and even withdrawn silence, are all sinful responses to anger. Have you ever experienced any of those things in your life? Bitterness, resentment, hostility towards somebody. Be real about it. Are you hostile towards somebody right now? Maybe somebody in this room or someone in your youth group or one of your friends? Have you withdrawn yourself so much you become silent and that's made you angry and sinful towards someone else? Be honest with yourself. Be honest with God. Where are you at when it comes to anger? Where are you at? I struggle with some of these things the most, guys. So it makes sense that God put me up here to speak on this sermon. Like we were talking about that when we were playing the sermons. Like, man, it's crazy how each one lines up with maybe some of our greatest struggles that we have. I struggle with resentment sometimes. I struggle with sometimes being a little hostile toward people. In my own ways, I throw tantrums. Usually with my words. You guys ever heard the term gaslighting? You guys ever heard that before? Never heard it? I don't know the actual definition, but basically I think it's like when you take what somebody else has said and you kind of try to use that against them.
Try to convince people that what's untrue is true.
Yeah. Try to convince people what's untrue is true. You kind of twist things. I've been told by people very close to me that I gaslight sometimes. Those are responses that I have to anger. It's issues that I have. So I'm asking you guys, do you have any of those issues? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with God? Because if you allow yourself to be consumed by anger, by bitterness, by withdrawn silence, you're going to fall victim to sin. You're going to fall victim to the lie that Satan says is what you need. That Satan will divide you. He'll take you from the deepest relationship you can have with God. What do we do with it? What do we do with anger? What if you're like me and you really don't have much patience in your life? The fruit of the Spirit is anchored to Christ. It can't exist without Jesus. Elizabeth, I got a little bit more to go. Sorry. Sorry about that. One of my biggest struggles, as I've said before, is that I try to do everything myself. I'm an 8. I'm a challenger. I'm a doer. I forget that my life needs to be anchored in Christ. That's where you have to start. That's where you have to finish. Patience says, I will depend on God. I will trust in God. I will listen to God. I will slow down, just like McQueen needed to slow down. Maybe practicing patience means you take your time or you give God opportunity to work in your life. Instead of doing what the world says do the thing that's best for you. Do whatever it takes to get your point across. God's way is different. Proverbs 14:29 says this, people with understanding control their anger. So are you a person with understanding? Are you a person with understanding who's controlling your anger? It says that a hot temper shows great foolishness. Guys, I've made a fool of myself so many times. Maybe I've made a fool of myself before in front of you if I got upset about something. I apologize for that. I've made a fool of myself for my hot temper. That's what I did on that basketball court. That's what I've done in my life a lot because I haven't practiced patience. I haven't sought Jesus to be my firm foundation enough. That's what we see in our life when we try to do things on our own. It doesn't work. If God's not active in our life, we can't be patient. We can't be different. There's a clip in this movie. I want to show you guys one more clip about McQueen being impatient and how that ends up turning out for him. So check this clip out real quick. So what happens when McQueen tries to do things in a quick manner? He messes it all up. What does he leave behind him? A mess, a wake of destruction. That's the same thing that anger does to our life. When we get angry at people, when we take out our frustration on people, when we're bitter, when we're resentful, it always has the after effect. Like the ripple in a water, it always has that effect. Ecclesiastes 7:8 says, the end of something is better than its beginning, so patience is better than pride. What is it going to do to get things done in a fast manner? What's it going to do to be impatient in your life? When things aren't happening at the proper time, when you're not taking things to God, your life is going to look exactly like that road. It's going to be a mess. It's going to be torn up. The same thing can be applied to our relationship with God. If we don't spend ample time with God, if we don't seek God with all of our heart, then we'll walk in here into this room and we'll feel dead when we worship. We'll feel lost. We'll feel alone. We'll maybe feel some of that bitterness we brought into. When we hear the word or when we read the word, we'll feel like it's just words being spoken or words on a page. If Christ isn't your firm foundation, anger will get the best of you, and it will have an effect on all the different things in your life. There's some things that I've learned, and I'm still learning when it comes to patience, and I hope these things can be useful to you. 3 things I want to leave you guys with. I would encourage you to write these things down. Write them down, put them in your notes. First thing is this: patience is developed. It isn't learned overnight. No matter how impatient or angry or bitter or resentful you think you might be, you're not just going to fix it just overnight. Now, God can do a lot of things overnight, but it is a daily grind. It's a daily work. It's something you develop. So are you willing to develop patience in your life? Who do you need to be patient for the most in your life? Who do you need to be patient with? I know who I need to be patient with. My kids, my wife, my mom, Chaz. No, just kidding, Chaz. We know who those people are in our life. We know what things those are in our life. How do you practice that? You develop it. You work on it. It's a work in progress. Let God do the work. Let God do the work. Let him develop patience in your life. You got to be diligent in it. You got to put in the work. It's up to you if you want to do that or not. Second thing is this: be active in pursuing patience on a daily basis. It goes back to developing, but you got to work on it every single day. Guys, I can have a couple moments or a couple days where I'm like, man, I've been really patient today. I've been really kind. I haven't been hasty. I haven't gotten angry about things, little or big. But then I can fall right back into my old habits. Right back into it. And that's because I'm thinking more about me. If you pursue patience on a daily basis, that means you pursue love, joy, peace every day. You want the fruit of the Spirit in your life, you pursue God. Pursue His holiness. You want to be patient? Or maybe you're thinking, man, anger always gets the best of me. I just have to be a hermit. I got to stay away from people. Don't let that be your life. Pursue patience every day. Make it daily. So develop it. Let it take time, but work on it every day. And the last thing is this. Maybe one of the most important things you can take with you. Don't let the sun go down on your anger. Don't ever let it go down your anger. Ephesians 4:26 talks about that. Don't hold things within. Don't bottle up the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, the impatience you have towards somebody or something. Don't let the sun go down your anger. Give that to God. Let it go. Let it go and let God consume you. Let God consume you. I want to close by telling you guys a quick story. One of the things that I've learned the most as a dad, especially in the last year, is that I'm not very patient with my oldest daughter, Ireland. Now, she is more of an Enneagram 1. So she's kind of black and white, nope, I'm going to do things this way. This is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do it that way. She's structured, she's organized. But I'm the challenger, right? So I struggle with patience with her. I struggle with that. And probably about a year ago, Michelle told me, hey, if you don't be careful, your impatience is going to have a ripple effect on your life with your daughter. She's not going to want to be close to you and trust you and confide in you as she gets older. And it took me a while because of my pride, because of my impatience, to actually believe that. But I know it to be true. I'm still working on it today. I'm working on it today. I know when I'm impatient, when I get angry, when I get upset, when I see my daughter's tears roll down her face, when I see that I've let her down, and I realize, God, I'm sorry, I got to fix this. But no matter how many times I try to do that, I can't fix it on my own, guys. Just like you can't fix it on your own. If you have anger, frustration, hostility in your life with somebody else, you got to give that to God. You got to give that to God so God can develop it daily. So God will not let that sun go down your anger. So let me pray for you guys that God would do that for you today. God, thank you for today. Thank you for this series. Really been enjoying it, God. And I know you wanted me to talk about patience today because it's one of my biggest struggles. So I pray that the students today, God, the leaders, I pray that myself, God, would take that in, your word. Pray that all of us would be developing patience in our life. I pray that we wouldn't think we have to do that on our own, but that we would know that our firm foundation and a life set upon you, the solid rock, is set upon love, joy, peace, and patience. Help us learn from your example how patient you are with us when we mess up. When we mess up today, when we mess up tomorrow, you're patient with us. But God, I know it breaks your heart when we're angry, when we're prideful, when we're resentful. So please forgive us. Please help us slow down this week. pursue patience, pursue love, to work on that every single day so we would not be the same, so we could draw closer to your heart. And ask that you would do that in the name of your Son, Jesus. Amen. I got 2 quick announcements for you guys real quick. First, I am excited. Home Invasion today, 6 to 9. It's at the Kitts Millers in Sellersburg. So check out our Instagram. Talk to one of your friends here. Make sure you know where that's at. Guys bring chips. Girls bring a drink. The Kitts Millers are providing pizza for us today, so that's really cool. If you're a middle schooler, it's from 3 to 6. High school, 6 to 9. And then the last thing I had for you guys, if you wouldn't mind, super quick, pitch in with us. We got to take down the curtains and set up some chairs and tables. If you got a few minutes and can help us set up after service, we'd love your help doing that. Okay? Love you guys. See you guys at the Home Invasion. We will start setting up now.